And here I seen it again now on TV.
Yes, that's right. The History Channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I've been there.
It's amazing, incredible what you've experienced. And Heidi wonderfully gave me a whole long list of things about your life.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get to it. And I'm excited. Whenever, Ed, you're ready, we'll be ready. We've been rolling. We've been rolling, okay. He always captures me doing this stuff. So thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you. When were you born?
In Germany.
So you're born in Germany, and what was your birthday?
And 22nd February 1928.
Whereabouts in Germany were you born?
In Groeswalde.
Okay.
That was East Prussia.
East Prussia at the time.
East Prussia at the time.
Yep. Which was part of Germany.
Yeah,
Part of Germany.
yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your mom and dad.
Well, my mom and dad, my dad, he worked in he worked as a street keeper. It's like he was watching like gravel roads,
Right?
you know, and he had so many miles to do it from each side, from one village to the other.
Right?
And there was piles of gravel. They put the new road in, a gravel road, and then they put little piles of gravel, anything, there was holes or anything. He was the one that watched it over and fixed anything and checked the roads.
So he was part of the Department of Public Works.
Probably, yeah, public works.
Public Works. And what was your dad's name?
Gustav,
Gustav. And tell me about your mother.
Auguste. And her last name was Liszewski.
Okay.
And there was a Polish name, that's more Polish name, you know. Because East Prussia used to be one time Polish, one time German. Quite a while ago, because there's some people, they couldn't even speak German, just still Polish.
Right.
They had their own language, Prussian language, see? And, well, they met in the village, and he was my uncle Gustav, and he was a forest keeper. He watched over the forest.
Right.
So when we cut the logs out, and a lot of wood out, and replanted, you know, and he was in charge of that. So
your mom and dad, they met,
they met.
and when did they get married? Do you remember when?
No, I
Okay.
can't tell you that, no.
And how many siblings did you have?
8.
8? And where were you in the order?
And probably I would say middle. I mean, there was Walter, no, Martha, Walter, Auguste, and Gustav. Then come me. Then comes Kate, then Gerhard and Hilde.
Wow. Tell me what it was like living with 8 children in the house.
Well, it was a small house, and we only had 2 rooms. 2 rooms and a small kitchen.
Right.
And it was hard. It was not so much. I mean, we didn't have enough to eat, really, you know.
So with 8 children, your mother had to take care of you people.
So, yeah, and then she was hurt in her foot somehow. When she was younger, they never went to the doctor. They tried to heal themselves. See,
Right.
So when they was joking and dancing, they made hay, and they stepped on something like that, something that was cut with the side and hard like cattail or something.
Right.
and they went through her foot. And then they just tried to use it, heal it with leaves and stuff, plants, you know. So we had there was no toilet, outside toilet, just like the Amish,
Right?
you know. We had slept with 4 in the bed. We had a couch that pulled out halfway. There was straw in it, and then the mattress and straw, and then the blanket, and that when we slept on it, that was it.
So you're in East Prussia, and born in 1928, and during that time it's part of Germany. And when did you go to school there in?
Oh yeah, I went to 6 years old. I went to 1st grade,
Right.
and to the 8th grade I made it to, because we only went to the 8th grade.
Okay.
So when he was 14, he was confirmed from a church, and then we went to work.
So when you went to school, did you study about German history and the Prussians and Hindenburg and?
We had mentioned who the president is, and there was Hindenburg. Then was different. There was Hindenburg too.
Right.
See, and then they were voting in the theories for Hitler if he's going to be the president, because he come from Austria, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and then we joined a little group, you know, like Hitler boys, you know.
Hitler Youth.
Yeah, Hitler Youth, but not too much. We just had meetings once in a while, you know, and it was not really just so.
So what, I'm just curious, in your area of East Prussia, Hitler in 1932 became president.
Became president, yeah.
And was there much conversation in school about Hitler? Things were kind
Oh
of...
yeah, there was a lot of people against it. The older people, they talked about it. You know that he was no good. You know, they didn't like him. So, but then I don't know where he got the money from, but he got. They was talking about that he got it someplace from someplace else anyway, you know. And then that's when it started, the Hitler Youth, and then when I was 14, they got higher, you know, and then they marched, and just like a Cub Scout, you know.
Right.
It's the same.
Right, right. So so you became part of that Hitler Youth.
Yeah, but not right away until I was 14, 13, you know.
Right.
But we went like we had Hitler Youth, we had sports.
Right.
The sport, that was inside already for the sport, for jumping and running, and, you know, and so we were in it, involved in it.
Do you remember at some point during that Hitler Youth where they taught you a little bit about arms, you know, using the rifles? And I know in the history of the Hitler Youth, at some point they sort of go into a different section.
Yeah, I know that it was there. So long, I know when I was a child, until I get into Russia, nobody had allowed to have a gun or play with a gun
Right.
unless he was 18 or 21.
Gotcha.
So that's all I know.
Was your mom or dad, were they interested in politics at all?
No, but my mom didn't, but my dad, later on, he was a little bit, because he got that's when they got the job for the government, and, you
Right,
know,
sure.
and when they joined it, they had more privilege.
Right.
See? And he was in it then, you know.
Right.
But it was just meetings and all that, you know.
Did you see him go to meetings? Did he, would,
Well, yeah, I seen him.
yeah,
And then later on, they had the Hitler uniform too, you know,
Right.
and they went camping and all that stuff. So, but I was not too much interested because I didn't even care, you know. I wasn't.
so your dad, though, was in World War I, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And did he talk about that much?
yeah, he was in France. He was a soldier in France. That was when Hindenburg was.
Right,
That not over Hitler. That was Hindenburg.
right.
And then he got drafted on the end. Then he got drafted in the army before the Russian came.
World War II.
World War II, yeah.
So he's in both wars.
Both wars.
My gosh. World War I, the top generals were Hindenburg and Ludendorff.
Ludendorff, yeah.
Did he mention those at all?
Well, I knew Hindenburg, yeah. Hindenburg, everybody liked him.
Yeah.
And the Russian came to East Germany, occupied East Germany, and he led it, he got him out too, he chased him out.
Right.
So he won the war, you know, the Russians fled, and there was a lot of lakes and water, and a lot of people drowned, the Russians drowned, and they chased him from East Germany out through Poland to Russia.
Yeah. Oh, he was the hero of World War I. Did they ever talk about the Kaiser Wilhelm? You know,
Kaiser Wilhelm, I heard about it, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Kaisers, then, I don't know. I really was not so much interested as a boy.
Yeah. I know, I'm just curious because he had early on abdicated in
Yeah.
World War I. Well, this is fascinating. So your dad became, through the government, became part of the Nazi Party,
Yeah,
which is normal,
yeah,
and strategic because then he could get a good job.
yeah. And then they had rules. The government paid for each child so much a month.
Ah,
See? So I don't know what there was, just to raise people, to raise family, to raise, you know, next war, I don't know. But so and that helped too, you know.
sure.
He's got his pension and he's got this monthly payment, you know, for the kids, and so there was a little bit improvement. That's when they start making roads and everything. We had no electricity, that's how it was.
So there was no electricity at the time.
No, it's not there, no.
And during that time period, your mother passed away. Your mother died.
Yeah, my mother was sick. She was in bed, and I remember when she carried me from one room to the other. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
And well, and then my dad, he was drinking a little bit too, you know.
Yeah.
And that was not so good either. And I feel sorry. When I was 6, then he was at home 8. There was not so much food, everything. So a guy in the village, he had no children, and he asked my sister if he was cutting hair and pulling teeth. My dad too, you know. He was on the
Barber,
side.
yeah.
Yeah,
They did, yeah.
He was a paramedic in the army too, you see. So he put, if he had to arm out, he put it back in it, you know. I had a shovel on it, and I hit something, I put my arm, he puts it right in it, and so then the family asked if I would go. No, my sister would go with them in the family because their neighbor knew we had a lot of kids, you know, and kind of crowded. So they didn't have any, so she don't want to go, and I told her I'm going. Yeah. So it's okay. He said, if you want to come, so next day I went from school. I went right there and stayed there until I was 14.
Okay.
So he had a farm. I watched the cows, you know, and geese. They had geese and cows, and
So you became a farmer.
I became a farmer, yeah. So, and then, well, and I liked it, and then we made some hay and then, and when I got big at 10 or 12, I went, every Sunday we had off, I went, made myself a fishing rod, you know, we had a fishing rod, but I went in a beer garden with the farmers stopped with horses, and they had long tails, you know. I went down and pulled a few hair out of the tail, you know, and made myself a fishing line.
I love it. I need you.
Yeah, I made myself a fishing line, and then so that we had a big trees, a lot of woods. Groß Walde is a mean woods, big woods, you know, big lakes and big timber. I mean, big timber.
Right.
And there was a heavy bark like that on it, and I wiggled some barbers, made barbers out of it, you know, and whittled with the knife, and you know, when the geese, they got the feathers.
Yeah.
And on the end, it's like stuck in the bone there, you know.
Yeah.
I cut, it was in the hollow like that. I cut that,
Very
and
hollow,
dry
yeah.
that, and put that on each side of the barber. Put a sinker, and I had a barber.
Oh my gosh. So between horsehair, duck bill, or the duck flower, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you worked as a forester too, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we had it was a rule that they cut the timber, there was a rule that replanted, you know, from the government, the forester, from the kids from school that took a day off, and then we planted it, they cut the timber, and then we, in the winter time, when they cut the timber, they had nice cones on it, you know, with seeds in it, and we went out in the winter time with a bike and had a bag full, you know, and sold them for a little bit money, you know. And so that's what for the seeds, see?
Sure.
And then they planted first they plant the seeds long, and they let the seeds grow. They grow fast, you know. One tried to beat the other one, you know, and there was 10, and there was maybe 12, 15 foot, 20 feet, 15, 18 foot, and there was on the bottom that thick, and on top only that, and then we cut them, took the bark off, skinned them, and made a fishing pole out of it.
Man, I needed you on the lake. So during this time period, when you're kind of 14 to 16, 17 years old in East Prussia, did you feel the effects of the war? I mean, you're part of the Germans, part of the Hitler Youth, but did you know what was really going on elsewhere?
Yeah, we knew there was in 1939 what the Hitler, there was wars, and then the soldiers came, they marched towards the Polish border, you know, and That's what I knew. And then suddenly the war broke out, so that's all I knew. But then the people came from Poland. People came to work for the farmers because a lot of the men went in the war, so there was lacking on the farm. You see, so a lot of people from outside came, even from later on from Russia too. There was in Russia too, so it were work less and less people to work. So we had people from other countries too. When I remember, they all just like anybody else, people, you know. We talked to them. We ate together and we ate and lived together.
So you saw some of the soldiers come through your town, right?
Oh yeah.
Did many of them stay in your town, or they just keep moving?
No, they just kept moving. They stayed for a while, then they kept moving.
Yeah. So in around 1944, you're 16 years old.
16 years old.
Were you eligible for the draft then, or conscription?
Not quite. No, I was, yeah. It was, I guess I was but 14 when the war was going on still,
Right.
you know, good, strong.
Right.
The people wasn't, by Germany had close to Moscow there.
Right.
Just German soldiers. So, no, well, then it came rules, you know, and then after a while, when the war got older, there was a talk that the Russian gonna come and take it over, gonna start coming to East Germany. And by that time, you know, a lot of people tried to evacuate to West Germany, but the people that was 14 or 15, they had to stay home in case the government need them people for driving the cows and help them, all the people flee.
Right.
And so, in the meantime, my stepmother, my father married second time, and my stepmother had another 6 kids. My father, I mean.
Right.
She had another 6 children. So, well, they got evacuated to West Germany already, but I had this, so we had a place, and we had a cow and all that, so I had to stay home, and in case the government needs me, see, for driving the cows or something like that.
Right.
So, and then it didn't take too long, then the Russian came.
So tell me a little bit about that. You're there in East Prussia. You know the Russians are coming, but one day they actually come.
Yeah.
Well, how did you feel?
Well, I didn't feel good. I hated, you know, that Hitler losing the war too, you know. And I mean, I would like to lose my home instead, you know. So, and then it suddenly came, and they suddenly showed up, the Russians.
So how did they?
They came, and I heard they come closer. They're coming closer all the time. We could hear the guns already in Poland. On 22, 3, we could hear the guns. But the German army, they didn't even care anymore, almost. You know, they tried to, they had enough from war already. So that they tried to go back with trucks. They had trucks and all that.
So this is early 1945.
Yeah, that was in January 45.
Yep. So the Russians are coming.
Russians are coming. So my uncle all his children was, his son was in the army. My brother was in Romania in the army. My oldest brother was 21, 22. He was in the Navy and submarine. And
So, who at the time? Who's in your kind of household? Is it your uncle?
well, I was my own boss in my household.
Okay, so you're by yourself.
By yourself.
By yourself. And at some point, a Russian confronts you.
Yeah, well, it didn't happen like that. So we fled, and then we heard the Russians are not too far. So my uncles had a horse and a buggy, and they made a horse and buggy. They made everything loaded up, and we fled, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we fled for 2 days, and then the Russian came, and I saw. And then we marched a couple of days, and suddenly, in the morning we marched, and then they had my little brother, he was 12. He was 12 years old. And he was, my uncle took him and met me. I went with him. So when the army came back, then the trucks came, they took the girls. There was 4 girls, and my uncle's wife. They took them on the truck so they could go out to West Germany, maybe to make it over the line.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know. So my brother, me, and my uncle, we came one morning going, escaping with a horse and buggy, and I looked down there was a tank standing there on the road with a star on it.
Mm.
You know, and I thought, I knew it was a Russian then, so then they came, and then other came, there was, the bullets was flying, shooting, you know, the pistols and everything, and then there was a big farm and a big trees to the farm for both sides. So we was going under toward the farm. And then there was one soldier, Red Cross. He had no gun, nothing. He had just Red Cross. And we was in the driveway between the trees. And he was there, and the bullets were flying, and he told me, he said, go hide behind the tree, you know, hide behind the tree. And then that soldier, that paramedic, that soldier had the cross, and he told me, he said, go behind the tree. So I went behind the tree, and then one soldier came on. He saw that soldier, and he had his hands up, and he fell, you know.
Mm.
That's the first big place.
Yeah. So they shot a Red Cross person,
Yeah,
and the Red Cross person saved your life.
yeah.
Wow.
So then we got on the farm, and I was kind of nosy too, you know, I was a boy. And I went inside, and I seen in the yard there was horses, and then one Cossack, the Russian, came, and he has a horse, sweated, you know, everything, and he told me I should give him another horse. I said, I don't got no horses, you know. And I heard there was an officer in the house and watched in the window, and he hollered at that guy. And he told me later, right away, you should go inside and stay inside.
Mm.
Don't go out anymore. So we stayed there for a week, maybe a week and a half. There was some food in there, there was potatoes in the basement and everything. We cooked them, and that's all what we had, you know. And then finally they said, we have to leave the school and we're going to march someplace. So we my uncle had the wagon and my brother, and I walked behind the wagon because I was cold. My feet had not so good shoes in the wintertime, sometimes wet, sometimes cold, you know. So I walked behind, and then one soldier came and he says, "You go with me, see, go with me." So I went down, I just told my uncle, I have to go with him, you know. So there was my brother and my uncle left. So, and then from then on, I don't know nothing, see. Then I marched, then we marched till Krakow, till Poland. And then we saw all the United States, big truck, USA, tanks, trucks, everything was USA, flowers, USA, matches, USA, cigarettes, everything was USA, see? So, before that, yeah. I said, before we got to Krakow, a lot of people, they had, you know, the big eight-wheelers, you know, the trucks. A lot of people that were old, they just walked, you know, they took the whole families, the Russian, took whole families and we marched. And some of them, they couldn't walk anymore. They threw themselves right under the trucks.
Committing suicide.
Suicide. So, and then we came to Krakow. From there on, they put us in a boxcar with 90 people in one boxcar. And there was just a little hole in it where you go to the bathroom. We were sitting just like that, one by on each other, you know. And there was Polish people, there was Russian people, there was anybody that they found, the Russian saw that wanted to take it to work to Russia, you know.
What were the boxcar, you mentioned them, with 80, 90 people in the boxcar?
The boxcar, they would have got the animals, they transport animals.
And was there just straw on the...
Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, so this is like January, February in Poland. It's cold.
Cold.
And you don't have probably nothing. You don't have any clothes.
Yeah, and on top of it, and we didn't give us nothing to drink. They had first they give us that American food. We get some American food like horse meat, you know, kangaroo meat. They had some cans with kangaroo meat, and so everybody got a little spoonful, you know. Then that's all what we got. And
so it's like American. Somehow they had American food, but the Russians had you. Russians were in control of you.
Russians were control over it.
Yeah, not U.S.
In Russia, actually, Russia had nothing.
Yep.
Russia had a truck like a cigar box.
Yeah.
Just one wheel, just nothing. They had nothing, the Russians.
And was the idea that here you are, age 17, that they were going to now take you to Russia to be a laborer?
Laborer.
Yeah. Did they tell you anything about this at all? Did you have any notion?
No clue where that thing, no. Well, we came and then they stopped once in a while and gave us some to drink, and they took the water from a ditch and gave us to drink. And then when we came, after 14 days, we came to Kharkov. Donbas, and was the name Donbas.
Okay, Donbas.
Donbas. In Germany, they said that Donbas. There was by by Sharkov.
Okay.
So the train stopped after 14 days, and we lost 10 guys already on the way. And you know, there were some Polish people, Russian people, and you know, there's some German in between. The German was hated, you know. So then they didn't look too good towards us, you know. So and then we came to Sharkov, and it was 40 below zero. And you jumped out of the boxcar in that snow, you know, you just didn't even want to get up anymore. There's a lot of people that have to walk 2 miles to the camp, and they froze their noses or froze their hands, you know, just, we didn't have too much on either, just what we had on, you know. Old boots on, but and he had good boots, the Russian took away from you already. That's what they told you, that he shot the soldiers, he had the boots on, you know, he took right the boots off and took it with him.
So did you go to a camp? Did they have a location where you, after you got off the boxcar, where did you do next?
Well, what did we do? We had to walk down and wait a little bit till they let us in. So we came in then we came in a place where there used to be German soldiers occupied before, you know. There was a block building. And that building, the water was running from there was no heat, the water was running from the blocks down on the floor. And we was maybe a room with 15 by 15 with 40 or 50 guys in it, people. We were sitting there, you know, just like that.
So here you are, you're located in this camp, you're in the block buildings. When did they start expecting you to work? I mean, you're young.
That was a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. We were about 2,000, I was supposed to say that I heard there was 2,000, but 500 to 2,700 people in that train. Our families too, you know. Mm-hmm. And they go like so many, 90 in one boxcar. 90 in there's some people who got separated, families separated because got in the other car. You know, in the other car, they never saw each other anymore. You know? And then we come, and then the people start dying. And there was typhus, you know, from the drink that we drank, the water and everything. People start getting sick. And so the people, 70 people died every night almost. We had no food, just a little water with a cabbage leaf in it, you know. And then I went from 130, I was then 130 pounds, I went from 135 to 58 pounds.
Man.
They threw me on the death pile already. And I walked away. That's what my neighbor told me that.
So,
yeah, he told me that he was a Polish guy. And I got up and I saw my room again, and he told me to pray to God, you know, and things, and it's going to be better, and I finally made it. So it took a long time before, and then I volunteered a little bit to work in the kitchen. you know.
So let me get this straight. You know, you were so emaciated, you lost so much weight that your energy was to a point they thought you were dead.
Yeah, delirious, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So then they literally put you in an area where other dead people were.
Yeah, they took the clothes out. The one that threw me on the dead pile, and I watched it, and they were ready, and I walked out, you know. And
Well-
that Polish fella told me, he said, you pray, and you're going to make it. So I believed him, and I did, and here I am.
And we're glad you are. Did the Red Cross, were they part of
Yeah,
that?
and then later on, after so many people died, and that they took the people that took them, there was a pyramids. They had coal mines there too in Charkov. They had coal mines. They took the rocks out and on a track and up on top, and then they dumped them. See, you know, and they laid the dead people all around them. There was no name. What your name is, nothing. The people that got just laid down around the things. The nights, the wolves was crying. The wolves got the people, ate them, you know. So then I, like I say, then I picked up a little bit, and I went. I worked in the. He told me that I had a friend that I go in the kitchen, help the kitchen peel potatoes, not peel potatoes because the potatoes, they were frozen.
Oh, golly.
Yeah, everything, you know. The Russia didn't have nothing. When they harvested everything the first year, they put everything on the pile. The rye, oats, whatever they piled, no buildings, nothing. And the potatoes on the pile, and next day, a couple of days later, they're frozen just like walnuts. Yeah.
So fortunately, you worked in the kitchen and were able to at least start eating again.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got some extras, you see.
Yeah.
And then I finally got me a chair. You know, that little chair, and sideboards. And you know, I would like to try to take some home when I get home to, you know. So I put some nails, drove in, you know. And every time once in a while I put the potato, put on a nail. Then I just took the chair. When I went home, I just took the chair and said goodbye, you know.
Took the chair, loaded with potatoes. I love
Well,
it.
you learn lots of things, you know, how to
Well,
survive.
that's original. That is good. Were you able to learn Russian at all during that time period?
Yeah, I learned quite a bit. And then after I got better and everything, that we went out on the big collector farms. You know, used to be collector farms, you know, where Stalin made everything collective.
Right.
So we went on the big farms. Now we got a little bit more food then, and then from there on I got, then I was down by Kiev, and there was a lot of, there was like an outside camp with like a hospital, you know, and they took some sick people there during the summer, you know, and most of them were all, lived around were all doctors and all big shots, you know, big people. And they had their houses, and we helped them work at their homes, cutting woods and all that during the day. There was like, we were 16 guys, 16 men in one building where we got our jobs from there, the jobs what we're gonna do. And in the meantime, I learned a lot of Russian again. A lot of it I knew because I learned already with Russian people when they were in prison in Germany, that I worked for the people, for the Germans. So I talked to them Russian a little bit already too. So I learned, and they made me a night watchman, Night watchman. Okay, I was a night watchman, and I had just a stick, and there was outside buildings and everything that fenced in that building, and I had to check him every hour, every 2 hours. I have to go around and check him, and there was kind of risky because there was wolves in there too at night. And we came, I was only about 16 years old, and I was just scared too, And then I came from one building to the other. The one building, there big windows, and there was a lot of dead people. And they did autopsy, they learned, I guess, like they had the people laying there and cut open and closed, and I had to check the locks, if they're locked, because they were stealing too, And there was a building with clothes and building with bicycles and building with that, So then I was quite a bit watchman, and I was on there. And so that one day the Politburo officer came, and he was with 16 guys, and then I heard there was one soldier that he assassinated a lot of Jews or something, and then he asked us questions, and he told me, he said, I called there, and he talked to me, and he says, how you doing now, everything, and now, he says, well, he says, you don't even have to be here. I said, you wouldn't be here, I have to, And he said, you could have a nice life, you could get nice clothes, you could get good food, you can go in the movies in Moscow, and here and there, and he says, and then I said, what do I have to do? Oh, he said, you go out there and ask the people, ask the Russians what they're talking over the Soviet Union, what they're talking, the Russian itself, what they're talking over the Soviet Union. And he said, you can listen to that, you find things out, and then you can tell me, And he said, you can go in the camps and listen if somebody wants to escape or something, And I said, no, I would like to go home. So he hollered at me, and he said, get out of there, you, all kinds of names, very names. And he says, and I was by the door, and then he said, get out of here. And I came by the door, he called me back, and he says, if you're going to tell anybody, but we've been talking, because he said you could do that because you speak good Russian and everything, And he says, if you're going to tell that anybody, he said, you're going to die in the bunk. Well, the next morning, there come the soldiers with the buggy and a rifle on the shoulder, bayonet on it, He said, Oswald Bahl? I said, yeah. He said, you go with me. Get ready, you go with me. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? So I went with him. That was for 20 miles through the woods, and I was kind of, but then we was talking Russian too. I talked to them nice, everything. He talked nice. And he took me to the camp where I came from. And I knew some just a few of them that I knew from before. And, but I didn't talk to nobody. They asked me why I came back, you know. And I said, they told me to come back in the camp, and we'd probably be going to go home, you know. And then next to the camp, there was a big lot of Japanese prisoners. A lot of Japanese, and they had all the uniforms on, everything. They had everything. See, Japan, but I guess they was feeding them with rice from Japan. They sent the rice there too. So, in the meantime, I saw him a couple times in that camp sitting. He watched me where I go. You know, who I talk, but I didn't tell nobody anything. And then in the meantime, he got to be a chaperone for the Japanese to go home.
Ah.
See, so he was gone. So
they wanted you to be a spy.
Spy.
And other than wanting to go home, why did you say no?
Well, because I want to go home.
Yeah.
You know, because when he told me to spy on my own people even, you know, he said you can go, even in the camps where you come from, so in any of the camps where the Germans are, if they want to escape or something, you know. So when I heard that, I said, I don't want nothing to do with it.
So, you're a German,
Yeah,
no Russian, and he's trying to entice you to go to areas where there are German prisoners.
And
spy.
Spy on them. But he want the knowledge what the Russian people talk over the Russian
Sure.
itself, too. See?
Wow. Were you, you had to be scared when you were picked up the next day and you go 20 miles into the woods?
Yeah,
Like,
I was more scared going there already, just thinking about to go there,
yeah.
you know? To start there, because I didn't know what's going to happen. But after a while, I talked to him. That soldier was nice too. I talked to him, you know, and he talked to me nice, and he didn't ask me any question or anything, nothing, you know.
How long have you kept this idea of you being offered to be a spy a secret?
Until I got to Germany, back home.
Wow. Wow. So while you're in Russia at the camps, what jobs did they have you do? I know you're a night watchman.
I was a night watchman, and I worked on the collector farms, pick some tomatoes, and then we had another place we went is the took us in the one was a game warden. And he said he need about 12 or 13 men. They had only 2 rooms, way in the country there. And we stayed with him for 14 or 2 or 3 weeks, that would help him, you know. Because the first three, the game warden itself worked outside, and there was few guys out there, and because I could speak Russian already, and I was the youngest, so they told me to stay home with his wife and 2 kids, because they had a cow and a horse, and to take care of that.
Ah,
See? So I was pretty good. Always had luck a little bit, you know, going with bad things. So I stayed, and that treated me good, you know. And, you know, he was sleeping out on the floor with 10, 12 guys there. There was a big oven, and the Russian, they slept on the oven nights.
wow. Do you find this, I find this remarkable, that here you were a German, and you were able to learn Russian, and because you knew Russian, Russians had confidence in you.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
It says a lot about you. That's remarkable. So how long did you stay in the camps? What's your, how long were you there?
How long was I there? I was there till after the Japanese left.
Okay.
You see? And I left. Then I got it transported to, there was closer towards home, there was about a year before I came to Germany. And then I got transported to Latvia,
Latvia.
to Riga, big port there, and they had a storage places for weeds and corn, and we always met, I guess, with 12, 13 guys, 14 guys. We shoveled the stuff over every time over again, you know, to air it.
Yeah.
You know, so it didn't get
Aeration,
moldy.
aeration, yeah.
So we worked there all the day, every day on everything, and then for the Riga down there at port, there was a lot of guys from the Riga. There was a lot of Germans too in Riga,
Yeah.
you know, and they spoke a lot of German. But we talked with some of them, and they catch a lot of fish. They came with the boats, you know, and they gave us always some fish, you know, the flatfish. One side is white and the other is brown. What is that? I know the name, but forgot. So they gave us some fish, and after about half a year, we did that. Then we start coming home.
Did you, during this time period in Russia, what were the Russians telling you about Stalin? I mean, Stalin's the dictator, and did the Russians talk to you about him?
No.
No.
Not Stalin, no, but we heard him on loudspeakers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And no, we didn't. But you know, after I didn't hear it so much, but after I came home, I learned a lot, because Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill, they had the agreement that the Ukraine gonna go back to Russia to own on their own, because Ukraine is the breadbasket from Russia. You know, that's why they want back. And I came home and I came to United States and I read the paper and it says we have to watch out because the Russians get ahead of us. Then I told my neighbor, I say, you know what, Stalin and Roosevelt, the Churchill agreement and all that, and there's going to be another war. Mm-hmm. It is set up for another war. Yeah, and well, that's the way it is. And you know, when we came to Russia, after 2 years, the Russian was putting out new tanks. They had the models, same trucks. They had all their models, everything else. And then they tell you, and first they give everything to Russia. And then they tell you they're getting ahead of us.
Yeah.
I don't think that was nice.
No. Curious, going back, when you were in Russia during that time period, were you able to write letters? Were you able to correspond?
No, after 3 years, we were allowed to write a letter home. Mm. So I didn't see my little brother, or my uncle that took I didn't know what happened to them, you see. When I found out when I came back. And see, when then, no, what did you ask me?
Well, I was wondering whether you could correspond, right?
Yeah, okay. So I didn't know where to write. East Germany, Poland took it already, had it, see. But there was nobody there.
Right.
So where I going to write? I got no new address, but I had a sister in West Germany. My third sister, she was 4 years older than I was. And she was working in West Germany. And I knew her address. Mm. I remember her address. So I wrote a letter to her. And she got, after 1 year, I got a letter back that she got my letter. And she told my dad where I am. Mm. See? So
I think about that, you know, for at least 4 years, your uncle, your brother, your dad have no idea what happened to you.
No, nothing.
And they all can only, I bet, presume the worst.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and then when I come back, I found out, you know, because I came to West Germany, and then my brother, my dad knew already where everybody is. My little brother was already with him. See? And my other brother was from Romania. He was in Romania. There was a lot of German people too. In Romania, my brother got shot, wounded in a field there, and he was laying in a field, and the Germans found him, and they hit him, and watched him, you know, healed him. So then he came back to Germany. Then he was there too, except me, I wasn't there. So when I came, and then I asked my little brother, I said, what happened to my uncle? So he said, well, yeah, they took him too. And he know, well, they probably took him to Russia too. See? And I said, now, what happened when they took him? And he was probably from home, he was maybe 150 kilometers away from home. My uncle had him already going to West Germany, you know. And he said, well, he said, they took my horse and buggy, and I was alone, and there was people from his village that knew my dad, that's his son, you know. So they asked him to go with him. So, and then they asked him with him. So then he came to East Germany. He came back to East Germany with the tracks, with the people that lived there, you know, the villagers. And then I asked him, I said, now what happened? Because the house where I lived was burned. A lot of houses were burned. The village was 3/4 gone. They burned everything. So, so he was my sister-in-law. Yeah, my sister-in-law, she worked for the Russians. She was from West Germany. She was in West Germany in vacation, and the Russian captured her too. So she went with the mother down in Ordensburg, and next to it. They went back home because they weren't too far from home, so they made to back home. And then they say when they back home, the Polish people, they took everything, you know, all the rooms were full of feathers. They took the inlet, the cover, not the feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I said, no, and she worked for the Russian as a cook, and then she knew the way home. Was not too far from there. And she says, and she came to the village and she saw him because she knew him. And she said, what you doing here? She says, oh, I'm here, I'm alone, and I got no place to go. And then she says, go with me. So she took him down to my sister-in-law, you know, and she took him home there, and he helped her getting fish from the village. That's all they had to eat. They had no meat, no nothing. If you had handful salt, you could get a big bucket full of fish.
Really?
So that they had no salt anymore. So they had some blocks for the cows. They took that and used it.
Salt lick, yeah.
Salt lick. So, and I said, now, Gerhard, his name was Gerhard, where did you sleep when you was alone there? Where did the house is burned? Yeah, he said, by the mother on the grave. Yeah. It is sad, you know.
Yeah. How did you get to West Germany? I mean, Russia at 1949 was communist, and you know, and then there was West Germany and there was East Germany. How did you get across the border?
Well, there was a Friedland, that was a line where all the people that coming home from Poland, they didn't want to stay in Poland. Like a line that you could go over, you know. And anything for the prisoners, when they then got no home, they could go to West Germany. See? And I knew my address, so I went to the closest railroad station, and from there on I went home on the railroad. You know.
So at one time you walk in and there's your dad. You haven't seen your dad in
Yeah.
4 years. What was that like? Tell me the emotion.
Well, we were happy to see each other. Happy to see each other. But he was married already again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were small kids there too.
Right?
And they didn't even have a home, they had just a trailer, like a barrack, you know, that what the army used barrack, because there was no homes either. You know, a lot of people came from East Germany to West Germany.
Right.
You know.
How long did you stay with your dad then before you left?
I think a week.
Week. And then what did you do after that?
After that, I went and then I had friends in West Germany, you know, from where I knew from before, but they escaped to West Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a coal mine country, and I used to work in a coal mine in Russia too, you know.
Right.
And I tell you what I was eating. There was no electric there. They had the horse and buggy and a horse, and they pulled the cars, you know. They pulled the cars with the rocks to the loading station, you know, go elevator. And I ate the oats.
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 Wow. So you're working in a coal mine, but in July of 1950, I'm reading this now, you met somebody by the name of Martha. How did
Martha.
that happen?
Well, I just told you, Martha is the one that I did, that one that the Russian had, and she was a cook. Frida, her name. And I know her from when I was little already. I worked with her threshing stuff and all that, and she knew I was an orphan. And she always gave me candy, you know. And when I was watching cows, she walked by, and she knew me, and she knew my brother too. So she is the one that, she was like my mother. So after when I came from Germany, from Germany, and I was in the coal mines already there, and I went to my friend, and she, in the meantime, she had a baby already, and she came to visit the neighbor, and she saw me. She says, "How did you make it here?"
Hmm.
So then and she says, "You go with me." I went 2 weeks vacation then, working in the coal mines. She said, "Go with me." So he went, and they only had 2 rooms, one little kitchen and things. And her mother slept there, and Martha slept there, you know, all under the table, on the table, the little one. And then I came, and so that she saw me, and she said, "You go meet me," and then I met Martha. And she liked me, I liked her. She was 18, she had no home, I had no home. So,
Got married
got married,
in March of 1951.
March of 51.
Yeah. Oh, there's, I see a picture right there. We'll make sure we get a picture of that picture. Yep. There we go. I don't know, let's take a look. Camera, can you see that? Ed? Okay.
And there's another one here.
You're a pretty handsome guy, but she's a stunner.
Huh?
She's a good-looking woman.
Oh yeah, she still is, look at here. Now she looks
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
And now she is in a home in Bradford.
Let me just show you for the camera here. There's that. There's the heart.
71-year marriage.
71 years. Holy mackerel.
We had 4 children. One we lost one. She was 18.
Yeah.
And so you know our story there.
Well, not really. I mean, we got still a little bit more to go.
Yeah.
We also know that one of your oldest child is here today, Heidi.
Yeah.
And here she finds herself in Jamestown, New York. So I need to get you from marrying your wife, Martha, to Jamestown or to Ripley, New York. How did that all happen?
Well, that is. Well, I came to West Germany and I was working in the coal mines for 4 years. And I was laid off. And then I worked, got another job. Was going to be a bricklayer. Want to get a trade, you know, a bricklayer. And then laid me off again. So I went to the unemployment office. And I was there, and I had a big sign looking for immigrants to Canada. So I said, well, that's not so bad. Canada, good land, a lot of. I said I didn't like big cities. I was born in the land. I like to go fishing. I like to hunt a little bit, you know, and I like the country. So I came home and I told her, I said, you know what, we going to Canada. And she said, I don't know. She says, she had a sister there still, 2 sisters, and she didn't want to leave Germany. And she says, I don't know, I don't want to leave here alone and then go so far away from home. But I said, well, I tell you, there's a lot of good. Canada is a new country, and I bet you it's a lot of land, and I can do something, you know. So she said, well, I tell you, I got an uncle. He would, in 1926, him and his brother, they came to United States, to Scranton. To Scranton they came. And she said, they're both uncles, and the families are here now. The wives came later. They went by themselves first. Then the wives came later. And she says, you know, and we were in contact with Martha's mother, but the uncle, she was the aunt, you know. We was in contact that she sent packages from America to Martha's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I got the address, I'm going to get this sent to, if I get the sponsor, the German quota is full. If there is a sponsor that they got a job for you, then maybe he going to take you, we can go home to Canada, to the United States. Sure enough, she says, yeah, he can come. And he was older, he was 65, you know, he had a still big farm, and he needed help, so yeah, he can come. So that's why I came, but he only lived 2 more years, and he died then.
So you had a sponsor. Was it through a church? I know church sponsored a lot of immigrants.
Yeah, the German church. I belong to church there, and she sponsored $500.
Okay.
So when we came to America, I paid that off, and I got myself a little place, and then I got me little bigger place or more places and bought land, you know. And I like to work. I want to make sure that I'm going to amount to something, that we got enough to eat, enough to not build a new home. See, I worked, and my wife worked, and we made it, and that's what we had Heidi.
And we're glad you did.
Yeah, okay.
You wanted me to say that? But in Ripley, you created a vineyard.
Huh?
Did you? And you were northeast first, weren't you? Northeast Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Northeast Pennsylvania. Well, yeah, I worked for my uncle first, trimming grapes, but he was kind of stingy. Yeah. And he tried to tell me, you know, he says, and he liked wine too, you know. He had built a wine, and he always told me, Ozzy, go get some wine. So we drank a little bit, you know, and he says, you know, that one piece of land there, here, you could do it yourself there. He said, I don't take you long. And he says, you know, he said, 2 weeks, you can get that all done, you know. So I went working, and I worked one day, and I came home and I told my wife, I said, you know, I don't think that, when he gave me a job like that, he could do that in a month, over a month. So I didn't go to work that afternoon. And he was downstairs and I was upstairs, and he snored a little bit. He said he knew he was watching me if I go to work, and he said, hey, Ozzy, aren't you going to work today? I said, no, I don't think so. He says, he said, okay, then go down there and get some wine. And so we drank a little bit, and he says, so I told him, I said, you know, I said, the job, what you gave me that is, I'm all done with it. The first I had to learn by a neighbor how to trim, you know, by the neighbor. So I said, I can't do that for that kind of money. And I said, you told me you could do that in a week. And he says, Ozzy, he had a few drinks, you know, and he hit the fist at the table. He said, Oswald, if it takes me a month, and I gonna do it, you know. I said, we're not talking about a month. I said, we're talking about a week. And that was it. Then I found myself a job in the factory.
Ah.
And then in the factory was spring. I worked lots of overtime, and then got me a little place, and we planted grapes, and we bought grapes, and that's how we survived. And I'm still here.
And we're thrilled. I got to tell you, this is probably one of the most amazing interviews I've ever been a part of. I'm talking to somebody, you got to put this in a perspective, who grew up in Nazi Germany. So that's a time period which you had no choice, but you were really working with people, Hitler. I mean, this is Hitler's world.
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, you get captured. You get captured and you're sent over into Russia. You're working in Stalin's world.
Yeah.
And during that time, you were even asked to be a spy.
Yeah.
And through this all, you come out and end up going back to West Germany and are here today with a healthy family and a perspective. Do you ever think about what has happened during your lifetime?
Well, I accomplished something.
You did. Accomplished much and saw much. You saw a lot.
And Martha too, my wife too, she worked hard too.
Yes.
So, but I lost my youth, and I didn't go to school. I had to learn other language. Come here, learn another language in Russia. Come here, start with here, you know, with this is a cup, this is that, you know. It's, that's why I say I'm very satisfied what I accomplished. And I'm happy that I had enough to eat. I could sleep every night with no problem. Nobody bothered me, you know. Peaceful, but today the world looks different. And I learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, you're remarkable. You're remarkable. I thank you for sharing all your story.
And I think I learned a lot with all the politics and anything, whatever's going on. It is money rules the world.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you talk about today, and we're probably going a little afield here, but you talked about the Donbass.
Yeah.
I mean, that is where everything is happening right now.
Yeah.
Russia, Ukraine,
Kiev,
Donbass, and
Yeah.
you were just there.
right there,
Yeah. Remarkable.
close to Moscow.
Before we close, any questions, Heidi, that I should have asked him that it was?
I think you covered a lot.
Think I covered everything?
I think so. There's a lot of other stories too, but you've got all the highlights. You got any questions?
Peanut Gallery, that's my wife up there.
Hello. Nice to meet you. You were sitting up there way up high.
Yep.
I stand in awe of you. That's amazing. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Ed, anything? You've listened to this?
Thank you.
No, it's,
Do you have
one of the best
anything else
interviews
you
I've
want
heard.
to say, Dan?
Anything we should have asked you? Any questions I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, maybe I forgot something, but the main thing I told you how I got there, how I got back, what I found, and enjoy the new land. And I like Canada too. I've been in Canada a few times. I like Canada myself too.
Last question.
Yeah.
Last question. What do you think about Randy Anderson?
Well, he's a great guy.
Just the way I wrote it.
Precisely. He
Yeah.
wanted me to say that. That's for the record.
Yeah.
Not every
Really?
father-in-law talks like that.
He's a nice, great son-in-law.
Well, I thank you so much. Thank you, Heidi, for making this a reality. It's been terrific.